Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the F5 Recovery Radio, sponsored by F5 Project and the Ridge Recovery and Treatment Center. We're so excited that you're able to be here with us for today's episode. We're going to be talking about, is sponsorship dead? So this is definitely going to be a very interesting episode. So I hope you stick through everything, all the jokes, but also all the great recovery talk that we're going to share on our podcast. So this is exciting. We have our normal co-hosts, One Pretty Ricky, Kirsten Huovinen, and Adam Martin, and we have a special guest, Scott College, today. What's up, Scott?
Not much. What's up, Ricky?
Yeah, here. What does your sweatshirt say?
Oh my gosh, we're gonna start off like that.
Oh yeah. Dad jokes are how I roll.
Like a groaner.
It's good to see you, Adam.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Scott. I don't know if you guys know this, but we did Scotty's Corner podcast.
Oh, yeah, how'd that go?
We got like 10 views.
No, over 1,000 in an hour.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Did not.
Well,
Why would he lie?
what size?
It did.
Size? You typically lie about size.
Well, I'm male.
Yeah, that's true.
It went really well.
Yeah, it went good. Yeah. So we're gonna try and do it every Friday or whatever. But we've been pretty. I don't know.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Got the Opportunity Gala coming up on Friday. We had our workforce summit last week.
We had our executive retreat.
The executive retreat. I went to the Great North Innocence Project event in Minneapolis last week, or no? Yeah, last week.
And I was at the behavioral health conference last week.
Yeah,
so
you
guys been busy.
We've been hopping.
October is crazy.
It's popping. Oh. That's kind of cool. Popping.
Yeah,
We've been popping.
Cool, though.
Adam.
Yeah.
This is a little.
I'm trying to work on some new cool words too, but I don't know any yet.
Scott will have plenty for us.
Yeah, I do. Yes, exactly.
What do you feel like, Scott?
Like this thing's going to attack me. And I don't like it.
Okay. Well,
Kirsten,
to gain men, yes.
So I heard that, by the way,
I do have a joke, by
this
the way.
thing, I don't know what that looks like to you, but that looks like a lot of meth.
Crystal. That's what I was like, hey, boys, what's up?
Watch us come back next week and tell, well,
We're scratching off the side.
There's a search warrant.
we come back, it's gone.
Yeah, where'd the rocks
What
go?
happened to Max?
Not going to talk.
We went into the studio. We never saw him again.
We had to get a hold of Harvey. Yeah. I'm watching Suits right now. So.
Oh, got it.
That lasts like a weekend.
The topic today is sponsorship dead? And we decided to have Scott College on this day.
Yep.
So I don't know if there's a correlation to that topic to Scott College or
Not directly, but I wanted to get some different perspectives.
You know, actually, Scott is he's like a good sponsor. Mm-hmm. Like for guys who are new in recovery or whatever. I am not. I am so
Why do you say
ADHD
that?
because I just don't have.
That's bananas.
I mean, a couple guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
I could, that are like maybe 5-6 years sober.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just. But if they're like brand new, super high maintenance or whatever, I'm solid for about 2 weeks, and then after that, I'm just like, oh my god.
Sometimes that's all they need is those 2 weeks. And I've never watched you talk with somebody who's new in recovery that you didn't connect with. And for them to just be like, oh my gosh, I totally get it now. You know what I mean? So maybe they just need you to get in the door.
Yeah.
So I could really relate this to something if I can just jump in.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
I don't do this. I do Scotty's Corner. If anybody's interested, we do it Friday mornings.
Don't plug your show on this show.
I know he's a little nervous.
Paying some dues.
He's a little nervous. We might take it over, but
I'm on both of them. Scott.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You'll have to have Ricky and I on yours too.
Yeah, we will. We'll have you in Scotty's Corner.
Okay, good.
We'll live feed you. We'll go old school.
Yeah.
We'll go in my office and we will live feed from Facebook.
Yep.
Wow.
Scotty's Corner.
Yep.
It's going to be awesome.
And we can be special guests.
So, in correlation with what you were talking about, Adam, I can kind of relate this to kind of what F5 has done as far as where we're at, because it's really cool because Adam has, if this makes any kind of sense, kind of bring them together, is Adam has the visions and is out there, boom, boom. And then there's implementation.
Okay.
And I think that's not that you don't do implementation. I mean, you still do the work. Well, I mean, there's parts, but that's part of it. You know, if you think about that,
Right.
It's Adam's out there. He gets a hold of me and he's like, "Hey, we got this person. I met with them. They're on board. They want to get this thing moving." And then he moves on.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and then I
is
kind of
great.
step in, or we step in, our team does. And
I used to get disciplined in school for that all the time.
I believe
Being the
that.
idea man.
Well, just like get starting and not finishing.
Oh,
Because that's just
that's a thing in
essentially-
school.
That's
you know
what
what I
it
mean?
is.
Yeah.
Like, all the things that I like that I'm really good at that help me achieve something in the real world were all things that I got punished for and disciplined in school.
Well, because school's not built for that.
No,
Like,
it's not,
Yeah, it's-
and it's ruining people's
Idea
lives.
He did not say that.
Oh boy.
That's not what he meant. That's not what he meant.
Hey,
You got to
teachers-
work through that on your own.
It's not ruining everyone's life, but there are like people out there that if they could go to a different kind of
Yeah.
school,
Sure.
it would hit something inside them and they would just be unleashed. You know, but typically people like the school systems are not built for people with ADHD.
No.
Yeah. Well, they're not built
all.
for people that don't test well. They're not.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
There's so
I could go
many
on and on, but
avenues, but in their defense,
They're built for guys like Scott.
what?
Implementers.
Oh, what, are you offended?
Yeah.
School's built for me. How dare you, sir?
Well, my last name is
He's
college.
like, how dare you say that? And then I say it's built for him, and he's like, how dare you?
Well, my last name is college.
did you go?
Yeah.
Here we
good.
go.
I got a 7-year degree.
Oh, there it
Oh,
is.
I got a
So
4
you
year,
almost
10-year
said
degree.
I almost said 5.
5 inches or 7 inches?
7.
Okay.
But I think that's part of it is you know, there's a lot of people in recovery that are, you know, in a position where they can connect with people and they relate to them, but they're not the sitting down going through the book.
Sure.
For you know, in my situation anyway.
Yep.
Because it can become a very tedious process of doing that, going through the book, doing a 4th and 5th step with them, trying to help them write their 9th step and 8th and 9th step, and those are the things that take time, you know, and it's a process. Yep. And I think for me personally, when I sponsor guys, I don't really have them start doing their 4-step till about. I always go about 3 months or so before I have them. I want to get to know them first,
Okay.
you know. And I think that's for me. There's some guys, and again, it's everybody has their own method of madness, and some people it's like I'm getting in the book. Madness
Method?
To
Everyone had
their
their own meth
madness.
at one time, too. So.
Hey, what?
See, that's why I can't sponsor people because I just like they'll be talking to me and then some word will just hit me and I'll just go off on a tangent and we don't do anything with the recovery. There's like,
But
why am I even here?
you did do something in recovery.
What?
You communicated with that person.
Oh,
You
okay.
connected with really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
It's part of. It's not. Again, it goes back to what you're talking about. There's no set way to do it. You know, there's no way to say what you probably did with that dude that you're just sitting there and you kind of got off on a tangent is you got him to not think about drinking or using for a little bit of time.
Maybe. They usually get resentful that I'm not paying attention to them anymore.
Oh,
Because
sensitive.
it's usually they'll like that
get that.
because I'm a grinder, so like that first week I'm like, yeah, this is all about you. Like this is what you got to do, and this is
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And then week 2 I'm like, oh, another guy, you know. And then I'm talking to that guy, and then the other guy is just like, well, man, you started off real great. I'm like, well, you should go talk to Scott. And they're like, I don't like Scott.
Scott made me do the 4th step.
They didn't say that.
Yeah.
But I
But
think we
like
should.
in business, I can do that because then it's just like
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Right.
But like in recovery or whatever, you can't really just
Push
push people or hand them off to
Good
someone
job,
because they'll be
bye.
like they're
Yeah.
so sensitive.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of Scott colleges running around.
I don't think Scott's sensitive.
Oh my goodness.
Well, you should probably even explain what a sponsor is, because some people don't even know what a sponsor is.
Well, Scott's so good at it, he should do it.
That is not what I said. I am not here to say I'm any good at it.
How long have you guys been married?
We've been married about 6 years now. 7. Well, we had that dating period. That year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. It was that year you weren't here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That first year.
First year.
Usually makes dating work
When I was
better.
like, I better jump in here and see what I can do. Things are going south.
Typical.
Yeah.
So
Adam's doing something great. I better take over. That sounds
Looks
like
like
a
he started a
relationship.
fire.
yeah, that's what it was. Ooh, I might need to go help.
You're
him
not
with
doing this
fight.
correctly.
So I think for me, a definition of a sponsor is somebody that is in my life that gives me direction and guidance, walks me through the steps in for what I do anyway. For on the AA side of it, can I say that?
You can.
Okay, is the sponsor set up to be objective? Somebody that can be objective in my life. That's not, that's why we don't sponsor family members. Usually men don't sponsor women. There's a lot of things. The cool thing about it is there's no rules.
Right.
There's guidelines and there's suggestions.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what a sponsor is. A sponsor, I'm there as a sponsor to give suggestions. I'm not there to tell them how to live their life, what they should change. Here's what happened to me.
Right.
And, if you want to experience that, more power to you. But if you don't want to experience that and you want to try something different, here's what I did to change that. So it's my experience in my life that have, I always talk about, I don't learn from the stuff I do right.
No.
I usually learn from my things I mess up or F up. Right. Those are the things where that's where my experience comes from, is the things that I mess up. If I'm in a relationship and I do something stupid, which I do on a daily basis sometimes, I realize, do I want to keep doing that, or do I want to change that? And I think that's part of what the sponsorship, for me anyway, that's what sponsorship looks like. I want to be able to, I have a sponsor, he has a sponsor. I go to him with situations, I'll never forget, I was like going to be moving in with my better half, and I called my sponsor after I did it. And the best response he had was, all you're doing is calling to get approval.
Yeah.
You don't want me in on this decision. And I didn't want him to weigh in, because I knew he was going to probably give me better advice than to do that at the time, because it was a timing thing. It wasn't, I don't think he was thinking it's a bad decision. Yeah. It's just because of the time that was involved.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's where we don't always want to hear the things that we need to hear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I want Adam to tell me, yeah, Scott, you just go ahead and do that. So, that's the other thing, is if you're looking for a sponsor, you're in recovery, you want to find a sponsor that has something that you want, but also that's not going to tell you what you want to hear. I need a sponsor that's going to tell me what I need to hear. Like, you're a dumbass, you need to do something different. Instead of,
you're a dumbass, and you need to do something different.
I have a new sponsor. Adam's my sponsor. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
But it has to be a voice louder than your own head.
Right.
Because
Yes.
You're a dumbass. I'm just kidding.
No, it's
that's
louder
so
up here.
true.
It's still louder.
Yes.
Like, I can take suggestion from my sponsor where, I might be told, like, well, maybe you're being kind of bitchy. How about you try being nice to your husband? Something along those lines, which is ridiculous. I've never heard that. But,
Liar.
and I'm not offended. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if someone else were to say that, I don't know, burn their things. I don't know. But seems like a normal reaction. But yeah, a sponsor is just a voice louder than you. And it's like like you were saying, it's an unemotional point of view on my life, and someone I trust with telling things and telling like how I've screwed up instead of like, how you doing? I'm fine. Everything's fine and I'm great. And that's how you die in sobriety. But, and I think even, many years into sobriety, you still need a sponsor because you need somebody still unemotionally attached to your life. And I guess sometimes I make some mistakes. They're probably misunderstandings, but
On their
it's all right.
part.
So Kirsten, have you ever had a point where you just didn't have a sponsor and you're like, no, I don't need one. I'm good.
About 3 times a week.
I got fired. I got fired from my sponsor. Fired me. I guess I wasn't calling or doing anything. Whatever. But yeah, so I did sponsor myself for a while, and then I got suicidal and yelled at my kids, which I'm not a yeller. And then I decided to get a sponsor again, and it turns out things got better. It really was disappointing. I really wanted to go like needing therapy or antidepressant or something, but nope. Meetings help.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She fired me and I got suicidal.
Well,
I yelled at my kids.
I was well on my way.
I wish that was like my temperature gauge, is that I yelled at my kids. And then I was like, I better go back to meetings. It's usually I'm like in the bathroom contemplating death, not paying attention to the kids, leaving a note,
This was
I
after a
probably should
couple
go back
years.
to meetings.
It was a couple years I had not been going to meetings. And then when my husband was digging
You
a
clean
hole
up
in
your
the
room.
backyard,
I'm going back to AA,
I
guys.
told him I was going to kill myself. Yeah. Never mind the room. I'll do it later for you. I'm sorry.
It's all good. So, that's what ISM stands for, right?
I sponsor myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Boom.
Don't. When we get the video back, Tellwell guys, I want to see all the times I looked at the camera after something was said
Just a
from
zoom
Scott
in, just
or
zoom in.
Kirsten.
Why me?
Why
How did I
me?
get in on this?
Hey, teammate. It's because he's jealous of our.
Oh my God,
The
I'm so
width.
jealous.
Yeah.
We're funny.
But I've caught myself 3 times looking over like the whole. that guy, that TikTok guy who's like,
Yeah.
or whatever. I just keep like,
Just like,
See the eye roll?
that's not an eye roll. That's a blank stare.
Well, we can't help that. So I think too, the other thing that's important on sponsorship is to find somebody you trust, that you can share some. Because for me, my experience is that my first time around in Alcoholics Anonymous, I was I didn't share everything, and it wasn't my sponsor's fault. It was my fault. I just didn't want to share it, but I ended up going back out.
okay.
And this last time that I've been.
Going back out.
Yeah. Gotta assume people don't know.
Okay, so
Assume
what it
everybody's
means
in
is
our
that
home
I
group.
relapsed. I went back out and started drinking again,
okay.
and I burnt it to the ground. got on the front page.
Now
of
all
the
these
forum.
moms,
well
moms
played.
at home are watching
Yeah.
this, and their son's gonna be like, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna go out tonight." No, you're not.
Let me see your
I heard Scott College say.
I just came home to get
You
something to
need a
eat real quick,
sponsor.
mom. I'm gonna go back out.
Oh my God. Give me your
You're gonna
lighter.
relapse.
You're going down. So I went back out, meaning I relapsed, and I burnt it to the ground for about 13 months.
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically.
How'd you get on the paper?
DUI.
Oh.
But it wasn't because I'm so important. I always kind of qualify my story.
Oh.
It was because the forum decided in their infinite wisdom that they were going to print everybody that got arrested for a DUI in September of 2012. So there I was, number 3. And there was like 90 people on the front page of the Sunday forum.
And
The
you
cops
were
are coming.
third out of 90?
Yeah.
Is that based on like BAC or what?
I don't know. I was just number 3 on the, I don't know why, but
Maybe because your last name.
maybe. Well, there's logic.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't like that sense.
I don't like it. I want it to be
You want
that I was
Yeah.
the 3rd worst badass arrested.
We had a guy once call us. My husband and I were almost going to go to bed, and this guy calls that we knew from meetings, and he was like, "Hey," and Matt had him on speakerphone. He goes, "Hey, I just took a whole bunch of pills and I don't think I want to die. And Matt's like, okay, well, I'll come get you and take you to the ER. And he goes, oh my gosh, that's so great. You know, when shit's going south, you guys are like the third people on my list. And I just thought, take your own ass to the ER.
That's awesome.
Like only
Number 3.
I'm like, your first, oh my gosh, it was so funny. I just thought only the entitled.
You were number 3 on
You're
the
like
speed
the
dial.
third people I call
The
as
other
he's
two didn't
sobbing.
answer. The other two didn't answer.
Yeah,
I would be
sorry.
like, who
You
are
guys
the other
answered.
two?
You might have moved up to 2 now.
Oh, mom and dad were number 1 and 2? Okay. Still
lie to me, for God's sake.
You
Have
make
you
me
learned
feel
nothing?
like I'm something.
I've been calling people all day. And I just can't seem to get anyone to come over here and help me. Thank you for taking the time. I'll be like, you can get out right here. I hope you make it.
And I
Since we're
think the other
third.
thing to remember too
Can
is
I have
that-
$20, please?
I'll give you a
and some
third.
cigarette.
I always do the smokes.
Yeah, the smokes.
There's
are cool.
nothing worse than being homeless and not have smokes or whatever. Like for me, it was. So anytime someone is like comes up and asks me for a smoke, I'll go buy them a pack right there on the fly because it's the little, like a little win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get a pack of smokes.
Better than another cheeseburger they get you. I don't want to give you money because you might do something I don't approve of with it.
Oh,
I hate that. I
always
hate
hates
that.
me. I hate people when they do that.
hey, I know you asked me for money, but I went and got you a cheeseburger.
Like, I'm full. I'm
7 people
not
before
hungry.
you.
I need to drink.
The 7
I'm
people
trying not
before
to die,
you.
sir.
no
I'm trying not to die.
Oh, anyway.
So I think, and the other thing I think is on sponsorship. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
Not cheeseburgers. Is that that
Burgers, man.
you know, I went through a process of switching sponsors,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was the end of the world. You know, I was like all tense about it, and my sponsor, he goes, "What's going on with you, man?" And I'm like, "I'm thinking about switch." You know, because it's
Yeah.
almost like you're breaking up.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So I was like, I'm thinking about, and he's like, "That's awesome. I think it's a great idea. The guy that you want to sponsor you is involved with a lot of younger guys. At that time, I was younger, and I think that's a good crew that they're running with. So, but in my head, I had built this up that he was going to be really upset with me and angry.
Yeah.
And I tell you out there, if
I
you're
don't
looking,
think I've ever seen that guy up like angry.
my former sponsor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah,
good.
but like not about like
Not about that, no.
Yeah, just in-
but I'm saying that's how crazy it can get in your own head that you build this thing up that he's going to be so sensitive and upset and I guess the
You're
point
that
I
big
was
of a
going
deal,
to
yeah.
is that if they're good sponsors and they're never, your sponsor's never going to get upset if you decide to switch.
No.
You know, it's like,
stay sober.
because it's like all they care about, the reality is that all they care about is that you stay sober. You know, that you find something. If you're not having that connection with that person, then it needs to be, you know, they're on board with you trying to find something different.
Yeah.
You know,
And sometimes you just want to try something different.
Right.
Or you
Or
grow, you want to grow in a different direction.
sometimes you just need a new person.
Yeah.
wow.
New how? New,
Why is that only with sponsorship, guys?
well, like not a new person, not newly sober. You
So confused right now.
sounded very predatory. I don't know.
Is that meant to you and I?
I don't know.
Or you? Just you?
Yeah, I'm not
It was just
sponsoring
in
him.
general. Well,
Speaking of your
how-
current sponsor, I want to thank F5 Project and the Ridge Treatment and Recovery Center for sponsoring our podcast. Without them, wouldn't be possible. Of course, we want to shout out Telwell, who was helped us upgrade for
Telwell.
season 2.
Telwell.
So shout out to them.
they are well at telling.
They're well at
So
telling.
why did you think of, is sponsorship dead?
Yeah.
Like what made that?
Because he doesn't have a sponsor and he's trying to prove his case.
He has
You
a
have a sponsor,
sponsor.
right?
I'm just kidding.
Both of us are like, we need your help.
I know.
We will save you, Ricky. We're here to save you. You and I as a sponsorship duo team?
Oh, no.
Oh, my
We
gosh.
should do
Hey,
workshops.
this is our show, Scott.
Let's
something on the
do
side?
another one. Let's start another one.
Let's do it. Hey, Tellwell, you got room for something
like a
really
new
good?
All you need is a resentment.
That's a lot, right, guys?
So anyway, Ricky,
Yeah.
why were you thinking that? Like, is that a theme from newer people in meetings that like, I don't need a sponsor? That's kind of an old way of thinking. I just need therapy. I don't know, whatever they think they need.
Yeah, well, somebody, without telling their name, they had brought up a point of like,
Bob.
they're in treatment, they're doing treatment, they have like their aftercare that they're also doing, and they're going to meetings. And so they were like, I don't want to get a sponsor because I'm already doing all these other different things already. So I don't need another person telling me what to do. And that was like how they said it. And I was like, oh, this would be really good to hear from some people who have been doing this a long time. And granted, they're not new. This is like their second or third
Somebody
time.
tell them what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was my
It's
perspective.
usually the
It was
opposite,
like
yeah.
if that was the but like he specifically said the sponsor was the thing that he didn't want another person.
There's a variety of sponsors. I had a militant sponsor back in the day. He'd be like, you don't do anything without running it by me. Like, you want to spend $50, you call me. I mean, I better yet, 10. You know, don't buy a car without running it. But like, he was like super, and it was like, you know, from an outside, like looking back, I'm like, geez.
Were you new or was this?
Yeah. Yes, I was. I mean, I probably need it now too.
Yesterday, yeah.
But this guy was just like, he was hard knock, man. Like, and he sponsored a ton of guys. I mean, I'm talking 20 guys that were all under like a year sober, and it worked.
And he ran
Yeah,
like
you
that
all
for everybody.
needed
just
that
ran
structure.
He wasn't only louder than my head, he was a very large man. So I would be like, that's dumb, and he'd be like, what? I'd be like, I'm going to meetings.
Yeah, it looks like I am mistaken.
Yeah, he did not care about my opinion. He did
Yeah.
not give a shit about anything I had to say.
Yeah.
Like, do not, if you get asked to speak, you tell them to ask somebody else. Kind of like, you have nothing to offer anybody.
Which is,
Kind of.
at the time,
At the
he
time,
really would,
I was
you
like
guys needed it.
19.
Yeah.
And I was walking around thinking I was the shit.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so this guy like comes in and he's, I don't know, maybe he's got some past trauma. Who knows why he was the way he was.
Yep.
But it worked. And it kept me like, and it built out like this like brotherhood of like a bunch of, oh man, some of the sickest people in the world.
Yeah,
You know,
for real.
like the guys that he sponsored were like sick, young,
Yeah.
sick, you know,
I wouldn't have
intense,
even dated him.
aggressive.
That's how sick they are.
And he just, it was so easy for him to put us in our spot. Eventually that didn't work for me
Well, yeah,
anymore. Like
but-
I needed to switch. And so so I switched at about a year to Jeff. And Jeff's more like that guy who's like,
But you were doing that for a year, having that sponsor who was just militant and just.
I had years.
Yeah, it got you
Like
in.
I
though.
didn't stay
It got
sober.
structure.
A lot of those guys did. I didn't. But it always had like a, I don't know. I felt like every time I came back to the meetings, I had like Stockholm, and I'd have to like go back to him, you know. But he was like the one skill that he had was like it was really easy for him to make people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Like even though he was like, you know, just completely. He would make you feel like you were 2 inches tall. Like you go, you know what? I think I'm going to get in a relationship. Are you an idiot?
Yeah. Yeah. But he,
No, I didn't think I was. I do now.
yeah, I thought it was a great idea. Actually, that's why I brought it up. But he did love you guys.
Yeah, it was.
Just
He had good
truly,
intentions,
yeah.
and he was learning just like everybody else
Yeah.
was. And then when I switched after being a year sober, and I got a guy who just like kind of I don't think he's ever told me what to do.
Yeah.
He just kind of helps me, eliminate, options or create options or whatever, or think about all of them, and then I decide, and then he just kind of travels down this journey. So it's probably more respective to like typical, sponsorship or
yeah.
whatever.
And I think the argument, like I've heard, I don't need a sponsor from so many people, especially working in a treatment center. They just, they feel that they don't need one. And my argument, my retort was always, if you don't need one, why haven't you quit drinking yet? You know what I mean? If you have this all figured out, if you know the answers and how to manage your life, why are we talking? You know, what are you still doing here? And it's just like, I think they always say the worst thing you get back when you first get sober is your opinion. And it's like, I think I'm going to think my way out of this. And I've never thought my way through anything. I've never thought my way to being in shape. You know what I mean? I actually have to get up and go do something. I've never thought my way into being healthier in recovery. I have to get up and go do something. I have to be willing to be uncomfortable and take suggestions I don't believe in. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, I got a sponsor and I didn't like him, so I'm not doing that anymore. And they're just like, well, the first doctor you went to that did give you what you wanted, you went to 10 more, so keep trying, you know? It's just like, it doesn't translate into recovery.
Had to get those oxys.
The pain wasn't bad enough for the first 9 doctors.
Anytime I come across a guy that said, I mean, it's like going through court without an attorney. You know, like, because, especially if you,
good. I like that.
especially if you want to do it what they're doing, like if you want to go through their book, their steps, or whatever it is, why wouldn't you get someone who's been through them?
Right.
You know, the book is in English, but it makes no sense. You know, and I'm going to hold myself accountable to recovery. Okay, guy. You know,
you've
done fantastic up to this point.
You'd have done it already.
Yeah.
Your life is amazing. That's why you're here. Yeah. You know, that's the part of it is your thinking got you here.
Right.
And I think that's the part of, you know, having a sponsor that has been through the book, is sponsored, you know, and again, one of the things I tell people, well, like I said, you know, I try to meet with them weekly for at least 90 days before I decide if we're really going to move forward with it. Because I want them to feel comfortable with me and vice versa. You know, I'm doing a disservice as a sponsor if I sit there and I can see the guy's just uncomfortable as shit with me and doesn't really share stuff. Like Kirsten was said, I'm fine. You know, if he's telling me he's fine, why do you have me here? Why am I here if you're fine?
What's going on?
You don't need me.
Yeah.
You know, but him being fine is his defense mechanism that he doesn't want to share with me.
Right.
So that's a sign for me as somebody looking at somebody to sponsor that he doesn't feel comfortable in sharing with me. Right. You know, and as me being a former cop, that was one of the things that I went through with people. You know, they'd be like, "I ain't telling this sumbitch. He's going to tell cop." You know, and it's like I had to build trust with them. But I think that's a big part of it is, you know, there's stories of people, my sponsor said within 10 days I had to have my 4-step done. And I'm like, holy shit, your head is still messed up. And how can you trust somebody you met 10 days ago?
Right.
You know, how can I have the ability to say, this guy is not going to go tell anybody what I just told him. Right. And that's the other part of that sponsorship that's huge.
You tell them stuff?
I tell them stuff about me that I would never tell anybody.
Yeah, you share stuff with them.
Yeah, like the deep stuff. There's like, holy cow, we just met 10 days ago.
Like, wow. Jeez,
you're a little aggressive, Adam.
Oversharing.
Like, well, we got one shot, YOLO. Actually, I came up with a new one last night. I'm sure someone, as Yodo, you only die once.
That's morbid.
It is super morbid. It's freeing, though.
Is it?
For me, it's freeing.
Yeah. Wow.
Because it's just like, I'm going to be forgotten in 100 years, man.
For real. I'm erasable. Yeah.
It's, like, all this stuff that I'm doing is, like, great. And it's going to have, like, a ripple effect. But I'm never going to see it.
No.
That's beautiful to me.
All
because
the
it takes
jokes I've said are going to go to waste. Oh.
It takes all the stress off my shoulders, man. Because if I live forever, I have to be perfect.
Well, I feel like if you live forever, you could just fix it.
No, why would you want to? The freedom of dying in like by the time you're 80, 90 years old is that you can live how you want to live and live a good life and it can just be done. And then you'll be forgotten. It was like you're irrelevant and it never mattered. That's me, it's just like, yeah, sure. I mean, it probably, people who care too much of what other people think are scared of dying.
That's true. I agree
think
with that, yeah.
Okay. Because because you're scared of what your kids think. You're scared of what your legacy is going to look like. You're scared that whatever, right? But eventually they're going to die too, and then you're not going to have relationships with great grandkids. You're just some guy. Right. So it's almost like it was built this way for perfection.
And isn't that something though you learn in helping others? Like I am absolutely free to be me after you help other people in recovery, and you hear all these stories and you're just like, we are all just one of many. None of it matters. I can burn this down. None of it matters. It just doesn't. And I think there's another side to the sponsorship thing where it's important as a member of someone in a recovery program. I think anyway, if anyone asks me to be a sponsor, I'll never say no, because it took them so much to ask, and they're so nervous and afraid. I might not be their sponsor in a week, and that's fine. But to just be inviting and to say, yeah, and you will always have enough time. I'm not your therapist. I'm like, don't call me with every drama every half an hour, because we'll just talk about that, and that's just not what I'm here for. I'm here to help you I don't need to hear all the drama-thon. I just don't need to. So you always have time for people. And like College was saying, if I'm not the right fit for you, I will help you find someone. And if I ask you to call me tomorrow and you don't, I need to call you. Like you just like, I don't know, whatever that responsibility thing is, I should know it by heart, but the hand of why I'm responsible, that's
Scott
it.
knows it.
I'm not going to say it.
Why?
I don't want to show it.
Why?
Because I don't want to be that guy.
For 20
You're
years.
smart. That's good.
To be the guy. Come on.
The guy. I don't know it.
Oh, well.
Okay.
I'm just trying to be nice.
I think you're
Why am I
trying to look
leaning into the
cool.
mic?
Stop doing that.
Well, so Kirsten, to that point, so if you get asked to be a sponsor,
Yeah.
and like you've never sponsored anyone before, like how do you, like what's that preparation look like, or either of you?
Say yes and then ask your sponsor what to do.
Yep.
Perfect.
But like, I think you can help somebody if you're like, I think I sponsored people when I was 3 weeks sober.
I got a guy right now that I sponsored when I was less than a month sober, and he's 1 month behind, or a little bit over a month behind me in 10 years.
Are you still a sponsor?
Yep. We have and
dang.
it's the perfect example of none of us know anything.
Yeah.
And I was at a meeting with him, and this older guy was there that's been around AA for a long time, and he was like, this guy was at the meeting, and I always say he was wearing a trench coat. He wasn't wearing a trench coat. He says, I don't even own a trench coat.
Like a
But he had
shirt?
long hair, tattoos, and I'm like, he goes, hey, I think Scott would you guys should get together. I think he'd be a good sponsor. And I'm looking at the dude going, are you crazy? Yeah. This guy and I have nothing in common, you know?
And you were 3 weeks sober at this point?
I was about a month sober.
Wow. Okay.
But I'd come back, you know, like I talked about. I went out, meant I relapsed and got drunk a lot. Yeah. But when I came back, he was like, he knew that I'd been around the system, or, you know, and so then I'm like, whatever, I'll meet with you.
Okay.
And I met with him, and I tell you right now, he's one of my best friends, along with me sponsoring. I mean, I've been through with this dude he's gotten custody of his son, which, you know, at the time I was with him when he started, it'd be like, nope, that's not happening.
Okay.
So
I agree with the
one of the
court.
coolest thing is we're at the taco place downtown that used to be the one on Broadway. I can't remember the name of it.
Sweeto
The
burrito.
Northern?
Sweeto, yeah.
Sweeto
Burrito. Yeah.
Man, that place was awesome.
I love that place.
I
So
think
we're
that guy went on the run.
I had a story. Huh?
Oh,
For a burrito?
Well, no, I was meeting with this guy.
About this sponsor.
it was amazing burritos.
About a sponsee.
And somebody's calling now
So
because they're
good.
upset.
I
Tell
like I'm
Adam
with
to
my
let
3
Scott
sons.
He
finish.
just big timed us. Yeah, like, oh, somebody's calling me while I'm recording a podcast.
Don't mind my Series
On
7.
your
So anyway,
Okay.
so I'm meeting with this dude. It's 3 months into it.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, so tomorrow I've got to go sign some papers. And I said, for what? He said, well, I'm getting divorced. And I'm like, oh. I said, here's a couple things we need to talk about. I said, I didn't even know you were married. I said, these are important things to share with your sponsor, especially going through. So from that process, we kind of, like I said, it's like we learn stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess the point I was making is that just because you're different or you don't think there's a connection, you just never know. Right. You never know when you walk into the rooms that you're going to have a connection with somebody that you think you could never have a connection with. Right. The connection we have is we just don't want to die. Mm-hmm. I just want to stay sober, and I want that person to stay sober, right. And I want them to have a different life. And I can tell you today, he just bought a home. He just got married. Mm-hmm. I'm not, I think the biggest thing for a sponsor, if you're going to do this or take this on, is that you don't get credit for the successes, but you're not responsible for if somebody goes back out. And I think that's where, like, a lot of people new in sponsorship that are wanting to do sponsorship, they get caught up in that. Mm-hmm. That it's my fault that they got drunk. And the best question you can ask them, well, so you're the reason they were successful then? It's like, well, no, and I had one of my sponsees.
Yes, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am that big of a deal, actually.
I did ask him one day because he called me. I said, so you're God then? And he's like, what?
I've been called that.
Yeah, I've been. Holy Jesus.
Is it weird if you think you are?
Yes, Adam.
That's on tomorrow's episode. Yeah.
I will not be there for that one. But I think it's important that people understand that, sponsorship is not because you're all knowing and knowledgeable and have all this information, have life. I got 2 divorces. I tell the guys, I can tell you what not to do in a marriage, but I'm probably not the best guy for you to give you advice on how you're going to have a successful marriage. Right. Now, like my sponsor, he's been married like 75 years. I don't think it's that much for Jeff, but it's like 30, right? 27, something like that. So he has a remedy or a recipe for successful marriage. Right. I don't. Part of it was my disease. My addiction has a big part in my divorces, but the cool thing is I can give that advice to him and say, do you think this is a good idea? This is what I did. And, I am divorced twice. So, right. And again, it's helped me in my relationship that I'm in now to be able to be a better partner, to be somebody that I don't get caught up in a lot of these other things. But that's the part of it, I think, that we're able to do as sponsors are being put in that given, and it's an honor. Yeah. It is an honor.
You need a boring sponsor. That's what I've learned, is someone whose life is boring. Like,
that's the goal, right?
That's the goal.
Absolutely.
Like, they lived a crazy life.
Yep.
Now they're bored.
It's awesome.
And they're happy about it. They're enjoying it. Right? Because sometimes I get asked it because I'll tell these like awesome stories and people will be like, oh my God, that guy definitely needs to be my sponsor. I'm not
I'm not that
we're
fun
going to be great
anymore.
for about 3 weeks, and then you're going to be like, Adam is everywhere. He doesn't pay attention. You need a guy who can just is boring. And you trust him. Jeff's going to be so pissed.
I know he's going
to be like, I'm boring. I mean, in comparison, you don't, make decisions on the fly. He's pretty well thought out, methodical about the things that he does. Okay. You know what I mean?
I would say instead of boring, because I would say grounded.
Why are you correcting me?
Well, I'm just
trying to save you.
Because I have the same sponsor and I want to keep him.
I'm speaking the language of the people that this makes sense to.
I just want to keep mine. So
they're 20 years old, and they're looking for a sponsor and be like, this guy's boring. You're right. Yep. Get him.
Get him.
Yeah.
Get him.
You want a good life. You're gonna want a boring guy. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
You can still have fun and not have drama.
Yeah.
I'm not picking my husband
no
up from
drama.
jail anymore, so that's good.
Grounded.
I haven't been to jail in a long time. I just don't have the attention span.
Yes.
Well, when I was new, when I was brand new, my sponsor was like, you need to be helpful and get out of your head, because that's where it's going to be. Most of it's going to happen for you to want to go back to relapse or whatever is in your head. And so it's like, all right, so what do I do? And he's like, well, you just go to meetings and find ways to be of service and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I don't even have a car, man. I ain't got shit. I rent a room in Horace, North Dakota with Dean. Do you remember Dino?
I remember.
I do.
God, smoked like 3 packs of cigarettes. He had a dog, all in the house. And I'd like come home and be like, oh my God, I'm renting this. But it was the only guy. It was the only guy that rent. And so I'm like going to meetings, and then this guy comes up to me. I like shared her at the meeting, and this guy, he's got his hat backwards like I do, but had like a chain wallet, Jinko jeans or something. You remember those? You could put like a 40 ounce in your back pocket. And he was just like, hey, brah. I heard what you said in the meeting and I relate, and I was wondering if you'd sponsor me. I'm like 2 weeks sober. I'm like,
This is amazing.
yes.
Yeah, you do. You have something to offer. You
Well,
absolutely
he was just
do.
like, say you got to say yes to all AA requests. So I was just like, yes. And then I called. And he was like, are you an idiot? You don't have a car. You don't have it. I was like, I tried telling you this. I told you I didn't have anything.
you
And
just
you're
kept
like,
pushing. You just
Yeah.
kept pushing.
He was like,
me
all right,
alone."
well, I'll go and tell him that he should get a different sponsor. It's like, man, you suck at decision making. You just tell, you meet with him, but you basically just regurgitate everything I tell you.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay. And so then that guy that I was sponsoring was just like, this guy's pretty crazy and he's kind of funny or whatever. So then he went back to the center and was like telling guys, this guy is great.
Yeah.
You should get him as I had like 5 or 6 sponsees. I'm like 2 weeks sober.
Yeah.
People were just like, this is crazy. Why would they let anyone?
Oh my gosh.
And I think maybe one out of that first year that I was like sponsoring a lot of guys stayed sober. I don't think it was like because I wasn't that good as a sponsor. It was just like guys weren't ready.
Yeah.
And I was probably easy to ask because I was just like so like if there's someone in the room I don't know, it's hard for me not to like engage.
Right.
Especially if it's in like recovery and stuff. And so I would go through the book with my sponsor on Sunday, and then I'd leave there and I would have to like hurry to go meet with that guy so I could regurgitate shit. And then I would go meet with another guy, and then the next thing you know, I'm going through the book like 5 times on Sunday. You know what I mean?
And you stayed sober.
And I stayed sober like the whole
beauty.
time.
That's the beauty.
And it was that was the huh?
Yeah, I was going to use that one.
Use what?
When you said none of the guys except for one stayed sober.
Yeah, I know.
But you did.
I already knew it.
She said it. Jeez.
And
Sometimes
you
I-
suck
You do this every week?
it. Oh yeah.
No, not to this level.
Oh, yeah.
I treat her with respect.
It is like a little you're married kind of. It's kind of like you're married.
Us too?
Yeah, in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
Getting abused.
Who's
You both are.
say it.
I'm not saying it.
I told you not to say it.
Keep your mouth shut.
And then I got into the Sanford and started doing the psych ward meeting or whatever, which was interesting. It's always fun. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's a
You
cool
know.
place. Yeah.
But it was usually people, addicts and alcoholics or
Yep.
whatever. Like that's, I think it'd be different in a bigger
Misdiagnosed.
city or whatever because you got like the detox in Minneapolis. Holy God, that is like just like tens of like hundreds of people going through there that are like severely mentally ill.
Yeah.
Where here it's like you'll get 1 or 2 that come
Yeah.
through like that, but most of them are like crazy drunk or high or something. They just need to get recovery or whatever. Which is, it may, if you do a comparison kind of or analysis between like Minneapolis and Fargo on the detoxes and stuff, we still have a chance here to save lives.
Do
Like
they still have
there's-
meetings and detox and stuff like that?
Oh, we don't even have a detox anymore.
What?
Yeah.
Clay County doesn't have a detox?
Clay-
Oh, Clay County does. Yeah.
Oh, but Cass does not?
Social detox. Like you can come and go as you please.
And you
Which
can
sounds
only be
amazing to me, by the way, because I've been locked up in
What?
detox. But it's not.
No.
Is it medical, though? Is there...
No.
No.
What?
Yeah.
Only in
Okay.
the Clay County one is. The Clay County one.
Your mind's blown right now.
Oh, my God.
You had no idea?
No.
Yeah, they shut it down
People die
because
detoxing.
it's against the law to put people in detox in North Dakota unless they have a medical hold or they've committed a crime. And so if they don't have either one of those things, they can't hold them.
Oh, that's shocking.
That's why so many people got charged with crimes. And we had such a huge influx of like people with criminal records in North Dakota is because a lot of it had to do with that you couldn't lock someone down in a detox or being severely drunk or whatever unless you charged them with a crime.
Talk about not the right treatment for. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
the number one binge drinking state in the number one binge drinking county in the United States does not even have a detox. Let that sink in.
I'm just devastated.
How do you tell people that in your county that you don't like them, don't have a detox? We hope you die.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway,
Okay.
Thank God for the F5 project and the Ridge and Treatment Center.
we don't have a detox.
No, I'm
We also
And we're not opening one, just so you know. I didn't come on the show to open
still
one.
out of nurses.
We are going to help
We
them.
watched
I
that
was just
episode and
trying-
Ricky said, thank God for F5. You
And
guys
their new
have a
detox.
detox? No, we don't. We do not have a
No.
detox.
Yes, but they sponsor this podcast to help us get information.
Yeah, get it out there.
Not finding out about detox, but we do offer a lot of really great services.
Yeah, we tell well.
Ooh, I see what you did there.
He tries to
Break the fourth wall. That's what you guys should be. You should be called fourth well.
Oh, I don't know. That was a stretch.
Fourth well? Tell fourth.
Okay. Well, I have one question for you guys.
Going there.
Do you see like the new people coming in? Is there less of a push for sponsorship than there was before?
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
What is the answer? What do they think is the answer?
Because they think it's old school. They
What's
think
the
it's
new school then? I get what you don't like, but what is working then?
well. The third time they show up, after they say, I don't need a sponsor, then they get to the point where
I think the treatment's watering it down.
that is
There's-
not helping us
Yeah,
at all.
they don't talk a lot about sponsorship and treatment or mentorship.
awful.
And and I'm a
That's
big
what I
fan of like all the different journeys that you could go on, But I think that, like I heard that there's a treatment center in Bismarck that's still not letting meetings come in since
Oh my
COVID. Like it's the biggest, like AANA are the biggest recovery networks in the city.
Yep.
And neither one of them are going into the treatment center in Bismarck right
And
now.
they're more efficient than treatment. I mean, they're like the success rate is better than treatment centers.
I mean, at the end
It's
of the
just
day,
ridiculous.
unless, and I have to be I somewhat careful because when you are in the treatment industry, it's a very it can get corrupt really fast.
Yeah.
We're talking about body
For real.
brokering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you're going out and hey man, we should be buddies. Oh, by the way, you should go to treatment, and then giving that guy a bunch of money for getting people to go to treatment and stuff, right? That's happening in the world.
Yeah.
And so why would they tell people to go to recovery if they make money off that? It's the new recidivism.
And insurance doesn't cover 12-step stuff. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just anyway, whatever. I
Yeah.
need to just settle down with that.
Come to the Ridge Treatment
Sponsorship.
Center. We have no intentions of wanting you to come back ever unless you're an
Yeah,
alumni.
please. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyway, do you see a push towards not sponsoring?
Yeah,
Is
'cause,
GA similar? It's strong on sponsorship. They push that a lot.
no. I mean, they push just coming to meetings because at the end of the day, if you have a sponsor, if you don't, if you're not coming to meetings. Because, at one point, I wasn't going to meetings because I had my sponsor. So I was like, well, everything I needed to get was just from my sponsor.
Yeah.
Which then my sponsor was like, I haven't seen you in a meeting in a long
Yeah.
time. But yet we've been meeting every month, getting breakfast, coffees, whatever. He's like, when's the last time you've been to a meeting? I was like, the time you weren't there. And he was like, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just that idea of you need, that's great that you have me, but I'm not the end all be all. You
Yeah.
need to be at the meetings. I can help you and guide you some other specific things.
Yeah.
But it's the whole point is coming to the meetings. And so then that's been the just making sure people are coming to meetings. But that's the hard part because our community, our GA community is so small. So we only have meetings Mondays and Thursdays now because the Saturday, there was a lot of different things there why we don't have our
What do
Saturday
you do
meetings.
if you walk into a place and you see someone from GA at the blackjack table?
It's happened. It's
Does it get weird?
Yeah.
Same thing if you see somebody at the bar.
I know, but
suppose.
it's a little different. It's not different, but
Yeah.
if I walk into a place and I see a guy I know drinking, I'm like, oh, okay. whatever. It's what we do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not you don't always have to do it.
Right.
But I've always wondered what it'd be like for you to like walk in and be like,
Yo.
my sponsor.
Just walk behind him and gasp.
Thankfully, it's never been my sponsor. but
I'd
yeah.
probably go over and like, if I was, I'd probably like step over there and be like,
You should have
Hit.
bet this.
Well, I mean, it wasn't even that. Like, so it was the guy that was in like the
you never hit on
the
18.
outpatient with, and then he came back that
got
next
16.
Tuesday, and then I'm like looking at him like, "Ooh, we're gonna be," you know, because you have to check in.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like, oh, how was your week? This and that. And I'm staring at him like, "How was your week, Adam?" You know, like I'm like waiting, and he's mentioned nothing.
You?
No, not directly. I was just,
Oh, you said Adam.
yeah.
Oh.
But it was just like in
You
general.
wish I had a gambling problem.
But I was like looking at him, I was like, because he saw me and like,
Yeah.
and he said nothing about it. I was like,
what?
He just couldn't.
What? He
couldn't.
saw you see him?
yeah, and he said nothing, and I was like waiting, and then I was like, I didn't even talk to him about it because I was like, what am I supposed to? And then I was like so convicted. I was like, talk to my sponsor. I was like, is it me? Like, 'cause I was expecting him to like get rep or him
Yeah.
to say something and be honest, and he wasn't honest. And then I started spiraling because I was like, what if that was me? What if it was like reverse? He saw me gambling,
Yeah.
and he was
And
the
then
one.
he went back and told everybody?
Yeah, and that's what I was
Yes.
like. He was like, "Were you?" That's what my sponsor asked me. He's like, "Were you going to tell on him?" I was like, "Well, no," but I wanted him to be like, I
Maybe,
wanted him to be
yeah.
honest. Like, I wanted him to be like to fess up because if that was me, I would have felt guilty.
I
and
was
said
jealous that
something.
he got to gamble and he didn't
And he
get
didn't
punished.
say anything, and I was like really jealous, and I was
He
angry, and I
didn't
was
get in
like,
trouble.
oh, God, yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I lied about not drinking when I was going to meetings. I got a year sober one time
Yeah.
and took a cake. And I was like 2 months sober.
But you just
Terrible.
couldn't at the time. It
Yeah.
wouldn't have done any
and,
good.
And
to
I had a wait. We used to do this thing where, like, the night before you turned a year,
yeah.
we'd all
Wait.
sit in a room and just kind of wish you well and tell stories and stuff. And then at midnight, we sing happy birthday.
Yeah.
I was 2 months sober.
Oh my gosh.
And I was having my 1 year.
And everybody's talking about.
And everyone's talking about me. And I was just like, this is amazing.
That was probably the best thing you could have had then, really. You
Oh
know?
my God. I felt so guilty.
I
Like 3
bet
months
you
later,
did,
I
eating
told
that
my
cake,
sponsor
just-
about it because I couldn't stop drinking. I was like, by the way, if we're being honest,
Yeah,
not
since
that
this
it's
is
a big
whatever.
deal.
good
Not
job.
that I didn't waste 30 guys' time, you know, for
didn't.
2
I don't
hours.
think you did.
But it like later like pushed me to what like I was like, man, I go that far even in trying to be sober.
Yeah.
Of being lying and manipulative.
But you
and
respected them enough to lie to them. That sounds weird, but it's
Yeah.
the truth.
I'm gonna tell that to my kids. I'm gonna tell that to Chrissy. Be like, you know how I know I respect you
Because I'm
Okay,
willing to
because-
lie
no.
to you.
because I'm willing to lie.
That's
Yeah,
not how.
that's
didn't
not
go so
going to
well,
work.
no.
Yeah,
No.
that
No.
got taken too
Well,
far.
as we are coming to a close on our podcast, do you guys have anything you want to share before we get on out of here?
Scott was in law enforcement for 20 years. I don't know if he mentioned that on this podcast.
He
I
said
did
he was-
actually.
I
I,
know.
didn't say
We
how
know.
long.
Yeah.
I respect
I
that.
don't.
But I think
an
too,
hour,
going back to what you were saying earlier about somebody doing that, I just recently went through that, and I was like, this guy was, I knew his drink. The person, his wife came to me, you know, and he's going to meetings, and I was like, I got to do something about this, you know. And so I went to Jet, and I talked to my sponsor about it, and I'm like, he goes, "What do you want to do? Blow up his life?
Yeah.
Is that what your intent is?" And I'm like, well, what's wrong? You know, and it's like, but that's part of it is that's what that sponsor does for me because it's none of my business what that
Right.
guy's doing.
Yeah.
You know, if he wants to burn it to the ground and, you know, and he goes, is he coming to meetings? I go, well, yeah, that's what's wrong. He
Yeah.
goes, well, what are our meetings about? You know, and it was just having that objective, somebody else looking at it for me to say, you know, this is none of your business. You know, you're not his. I'm like, I even know a sponsor, and I'm like, he goes, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that really helped me to kind of understand that it's none of my business. You know, I'm there, I'm sober. That's the important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And we're invited to be into, you know, they invite us into their life, not
Right.
to be there, just another person to tell them what they're doing wrong. But anyway,
Yeah, I think
and I
that's
am a
important.
huge proponent of sponsorship. Be a sponsor, have a sponsor. That's,
Live the sponsor.
I don't even care if that's not the cool thing right now or whatever.
I think
as long as you're putting forth effort, it doesn't, and it's like recovery related, just do
Help. Just
Just do it. Oh,
Don't think about
my
you
sponsor
all the
told me
time.
not to sponsor people. Well, you should always do, like, if you hear me say something on this podcast that's contrary to what your sponsor's telling you to do in your recovery, your sponsor's right. They're always right.
Maybe.
Do not go to your do not go to your sponsor and say Adam said on his podcast that I should do this in my recovery, and you're telling me that I should do. I don't. That's just you sponsoring yourself.
Right.
So
They hear what they want to hear.
yeah,
Playing
Like
parent.
kids.
I don't know who you
Kids.
are that's watching this, so you need context.
Whoever you are.
He said.
Anyway,
Yeah.
well, Scott.
Scott College.
Anyway, let's get. I'm just kidding. I was going to say,
Ricky, it was
something
good
nice.
to see you.
Yeah, it was nice to see
It was
you.
great to see you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came on the show today.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the people can see our relationship on air. You know,
Our marriage.
and see what I have to deal with every day.
I think if we took a poll, there'd probably be
A
poll
on
Scott.
what?
We could start
Which side?
relationship therapy.
They would
if
do
you
it
wanted.
just in spite of me.
Well, if that's what you want to tell yourself, but I think it would.
Scott, do you want to close out with a dad joke before we get out of here?
A
Yeah.
dance?
So
God
dance?
damn
No, a
it.
dad joke.
Oh.
You said. So
No,
my daughter
you
sent me
didn't.
one yesterday,
Okay.
which is kind of cool. I think on Thanksgiving, on Halloween. So why did So why do Frankenstein and his bride have a sense of humor?
I don't know why.
They're in stitches.
Oh, that's pretty awful. I'm going to tell my boys. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'll have a lot more I'm going to do like a 72 minutes segment at our opportunity gala of dad jokes. So please come, be a part of it.
I'll be there. I like dad jokes. Yeah. They're punny.
Yeah. Actually, we were thinking about kind of a cool thing doing people bid, then I'll come and do dad jokes for them.
Kind of like a
Silent auction thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But it never happened, so apparently it wasn't that great of an idea. I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah,
could
I'm
win a
sure.
date
Probably
with
your
Scott.
idea.
Date with Scott. Dad night date.
Yeah.
I
I think we're onto something.
think we're on.
Yep.
Either we're on something or we're
I
onto
don't
something.
get it.
They were in stitches, like because they're laughing so
They're
hard.
laughing
Because
all
they're
the time.
Frankenstein and they're sewed
They're,
together.
they're put together, sewed together.
What was the beginning of the joke?
Why his bride and him have a sense of humor.
Because they're in stitches?
Yep. Because
well,
they
now
laugh.
that you say it like that.
Okay, let's close it out. Don't make my daughter feel bad, Adam. She loved the joke, eh?
Okay.
This is F5 Recovery Radio. Thank you so much for watching.
Did you guys get that?
Tune in next week.
Oh, he gets it? You get
Yes.
that? Bullshit. He does
Thanks.
not get
Look
it.
at he's laughing.
He's laughing because I'm making a big deal about it.
Did you get it? You
Thank
got
you.
it. He got it. I could just tell.
All right. Close out this goddamn episode. This,